And on this episode of the Grumpy Gits, we look at the UK's strictest headmistress and ask the question, are her methods valid or are they a nightmare for special educational needs kids? We also look at your tweets on the issues with in-send education. We take a trip to Love Island and ask the question, is reality TV really just entertainment or is it actually damaging to society? Adam and special guest star Sam Renke talk to Fiona from TLC, and we lift the lid on the sex work industry for the disabled community. And we look at new laws that may be affecting this. We talk travel and the inherently ableist systems causing chaos for travellers and how sunflower products are having a positive effect on this. As well as all of this, we've got your usual favourites with stupid questions and of course the usual chaos and mayhem. So sit back, grab your favourite beverage and enjoy all the fun of the Grumpy Gits. And remember, don't be grumpy alone. The Grumpy Gits are proudly partnered with Naidex, Europe's largest disability conference. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Grumpy Gits. Bit of a line change up this week. We are missing our comrade in arms, Adam Pearson. He is currently holidaying and probably very drunk. So I am taking on the responsibility of hosting this week. So it won't be nearly as good, I'm sure, but you're going to have to put up with it because that's what we've got. As usual, we've got our usual cavalcade of interesting stories, stupid questions, and interesting topics. Joining me, as always, are three other gentlemen, bastions among men, as Adam would always say. Starting off with Chris Lee-Smith. How are you this week, my man?
Rubbish. Of
course. We wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah. Well, it's Friday the 17th, which obviously the episode is going to come out like next week. If everybody remembers, this is the time when hell popped its head up, changed the weather, and then went back down for Saturday. It is roasting. I mean, this is almost see-through, my T-shirt. It's horrible. The shit saga continues. My boy got a stomach bug at school. Ended up painting the toilet every couple of hours for 2 days straight. And no, it's just been a rough one. I'm tired. I'm just tired. I can't be bothered.
And that's why he's a grumpy git.
Grumpier every week, I've noticed.
I'm trying to be happy, but I can't. I'm just so tired.
Oh, also, you met him on the last episode. We did an interview and he was kind enough to join us for it. And we are joined this week, replacing Adam this week, is going to be Jeff Gibbs. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing absolutely fine, thank you, Duncan. It's a bit of a tall order replacing Adam.
It is. For such a short man, it's
I will do. To be fair, Adam did promise me beers. They haven't arrived yet, but I will do my absolute best to step into his shoes and keep you all entertained.
Well, I'm just pleased to see rival beard maintenance coming along. I think it's needed. It's
to be fair, also, I think it's all going to fall out by tomorrow because I'm really nervous. So all of this will be gone by tomorrow.
Fantastic. And of course, we have the irrepressible Simon Sansom. Simon, how are you this week, my man?
I'm hot. I'm just a sweatbag. And this is why I'm wearing a white top tonight, because if I was wearing a dark one, you know, it looks like I've been playing badminton for 5 hours.
So we're going to get see-through, not patchy. Great.
It's just wet. Just wet. That's what I am. I wasn't too sure if Jeff, if he was actually hot, or he was just nervous to get his sweat off of the brow.
It's a mixture of both.
Can you give makeup a shout for me?
I just love that we finally get some decent weather in the UK and everyone's moaning about it. This is nothing.
Yeah, you're Australian. You're used to it.
I will say, it's a lot more humid here. Where I was in Australia, we're in the outback and it was dry. So it was hot, but it wasn't this sort of close mugginess. But I'm actually quite enjoying this weather at the moment. Well, that's who we've got presenting this week. So we're going to kick off with the next section, which is, as always, our stupid questions. Now, we've renamed this Chris, see you next Tuesday. So, Chris, see you next Tuesday?
Yeah, I did a poll on this, and it is wildly unpopular with our viewers. So, and I won't say where the poll was done. My house. So
I was going to say I hadn't seen it pop up on Twitter or anything.
And it was also while the wife was at work and the kids were at school, so it was just me. So, first question: would you make a good MP and why? Let's start with the newbie, Jeff.
I'm sweating bullets here. I'm a raging lefty.
Okay.
Take that as you will. Yeah, I think I would make a very good MP, personally. I think my moral universe, it isn't anyone else's, but my moral universe is, I think, spot on. I think I'd be a conviction politician.
You think you'd be able to handle the pressure and the backlash from constituents when it's not going your way, or
for sure? That would be the least of my worries. I think the harder job would be getting my moral universe turned into a reality. I won't expand on my moral universe, but yeah, getting it to be a reality. There's clear things I would do, but yeah, just pushing that through the Houses of Parliament, I think, would definitely be tough. But yeah, I think I could definitely handle it.
I want to see Jeff. I want to see Jeff in power, because I know this whole ounces and all that kind of crap coming back, he'll have us drinking from horns.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, same question, Duncan.
I side with Billy Connolly on this, which is the desire to be a politician should bar you from life, from ever being allowed to be one. I don't know. I think I'd make an all right politician on the basis that I'm brilliant at evading responsibility.
It's a
I
good
could run
reason.
away overseas with the best of them. When the shit hits the fan, I'm off for a meeting in the Ukraine. Did I mention?
So you'd make a good Tory MP, but not every other party in the UK.
While hating everything they stand for, which would be an interesting contradiction.
Okay, let's go to Simon.
I'm a former elected official.
No.
So I'm a former Liberal Democrat councillor. I was also the parliamentary candidate. I stood for the general election twice.
Did you get
Parliamentary
elected?
candidate. No, clearly not. We lost really badly.
Are we hearing that you wouldn't make a very good MP then?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I think I was quite a good councillor at the time. But, it was good fun at the time. Would I do it again? Absolutely not.
Okay, that's the boring question out of the way, right? Question number 2. In terms of vanity, who is first and last in the Grumpy Gits? Let's start with Duncan this time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This is a tricky one, because vanity...
This is including Adams as well. Adam and obviously Jeff now.
Vanity's the question. So vanity I see is, I'm beautiful, I'm wonderful. I would put you.
You?
Mr. Yeah, Mr. I've got the face creams and...
I'm gobsmacked. I'm seriously gobsmacked at that. I don't know if I can go on with this question now.
All right, never ask a question to which you don't want the answer.
Just because I take care of my skin, it doesn't mean I'm not getting into this. Who's last place?
I'm going to go Jeff on this one. I think Jeff's probably the least vain among us.
Why do you think he's the least vain? Don't you think he takes care of himself?
I think he takes care of himself, but I don't see him going through a daily mascara routine, and he's not putting on face packs. You got to remember, you were the one when we first actually did Naidex, brought along a face pack for us all to try out. Like it wasn't to try out,
it was to use. It was to use, okay? It wasn't to try out, and you enjoyed it. You enjoyed it as well.
I did not enjoy it.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And if we're talking about the start of all this, it was Simon who was telling us to wear makeup and stuff for our very first show. So he was the one that kicked it all off.
Yeah, that went out the window very quickly.
It did. Let's go to Jeff. Okay, in terms of vanity, who is first and last in the Grumpy Gits? Let's hear first place first. Let's see if he makes friends.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is, watching previous videos from you guys, I've always thought you guys get the questions in advance.
No. He always holds them to his chest. He never tells us.
Yeah, there wouldn't be fights if I gave you the questions.
It's tough. It's tough. So I've got to do all 5, myself included. So again, don't take this personally. I'm going to put Simon at the bottom of the list.
Oh, okay. So Simon is the last.
He's the least vain.
I say he's going to be the least vain.
He does look it, to be fair, tonight.
He really
No, but
does.
vanity isn't about visuals. It isn't about how you look. I think it's like, could you leave the house without doing this? Do I have to spend 45 minutes in front of the mirror?
He doesn't do any of that, so you're probably right.
Okay. Then I'm going to put Duncan in, because there's now 5, fourth.
Okay.
I'm going to put Chris in third. I will put Adam in second. And believe it or not, in a weird sense, I think I am probably quite vain. So I'm going to put myself right at the top of that list.
He's trying to make friends.
He is.
No, not at all. So I will spend, each morning before I go to work, it takes me about 45 minutes to do my beard. My beard's let down today, but it's all usually tied up and it's got to look pristine. I think I'm quite vain.
Fair enough.
He's a vain Viking. That's weird.
To be fair, have you seen Bjorn Ironside on Vikings? If you can look that good, you'd be vain quite naturally.
Yeah, I think you would, yeah.
I love the thought of a vain Viking. Path me the mead. Path me the mead.
Okay. On to Simon.
From 5 to 1, Jeff, Duncan,
Yeah.
Chris, me, Adam.
Wow.
Jeff, Duncan, Chris, me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Adam's a prick.
You're second, did you say? Adam is very vain.
Oh my god!
Very.
When he loves, when you're walking out in town with him or something, and you go out for a meal or something, he loves being recognised. He's like,
does.
I mean, he's got one of those faces.
Yes.
he,
Digging it in while he's not here.
Yeah, I know. He's going to get you back for that.
when we were walking around, we came up to mine for like a weekend or something a little while ago, and we're walking around Leicester City Centre, and he was getting stopped here, there, and everywhere. And my God, does he love it? He loves the attention. Can I take a selfie?
Does.
Can I do this? Yeah, he loves it. Yeah.
But is that vanity? That to me is, I love the celebrity. I love the popularity.
It's how you react to it.
But surely vanity is, like, I think I agree with what Jeff said. Vanity's, can you walk out of the house without having to stop at a mirror and make sure you're all touched up and that's vanity. That's not. I would say Adam's he's an attention whore. He's not vain.
I mean, he has had 34 operations to make himself look better. If that's not vain, I don't know what is.
I
would call that's making it sound like he's gone for plastic surgery to get his nips tucked or something like that. That's not what it is.
Oh,
Fucking
poor
hell.
Adam. Adam's going to beat the shit out of you when he gets back from Cyprus.
Hey, this is payback. Remember what you did to me? Little me.
Yeah, that's why I'm
Why
never
do you
going off
think-
from this show.
So that everyone knows, I've been in hospital this week and I was not going to miss this on the basis that I didn't want what was going to come if I missed an episode.
I just want to go back. Did you say you were second,
Yes.
Simon?
Yeah.
You're the second most vain, so you can't help but check yourself out in a mirror and...
Oh my God.
You
that's
take ages
that's
getting
my
ready
Wife,
and-
I've got to trim the beard, trim the eyebrows. Absolutely.
It shows.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't look like you've been doesn't look like you've been driving through a bush at all.
In
Okay,
an
let's go
open
on.
top car.
Okay, let's move on to question 3. 3 fans win a trip abroad with each of us separately. We choose the destination, but who do you think they'll have the best time with and the worst time with, and where do you take these fans? Let's start with Simon this time. Let's mix it up. It's 3 lady fans, okay? They're sort of middle-aged, so we know the demographic. Where
I'm
are you
glad you
taking
said
them?
lady fans, not
Yeah.
Trust me, Adam will not care.
Okay, I'll take them to see Downton Abbey, leave them in the cinema, and bugger off.
Okay, so are they having the best time with you or worst time with you?
Well, if I'm not there, they're having a great time. Downton Abbey,
That's
New
a
Era
really
is
good
quite
point.
good.
I'm kind of disappointed and
I'm
impressed
like
at the
the
same
fourth
time.
wheel. If there's 3 women, I'm a married man. I can't do anything with them. If
You
they're
don't have to have sex with them to have a good time. Jesus.
Who told you that? Who said that?
It was on a song.
So you're saying if you're out with any 3 women at any point, you're obligated to have sex?
But not
have a good
necessarily.
time.
It could be a good time. Why not?
How is Simon married? I don't... He's so smooth. Okay, let's go on to Duncan.
Personally, I'd take them to Australia just because I know it, and I'd be able to show them all the cool spots, and it would actually be interesting.
Yeah.
I think my wife would have something to say about me going somewhere with 3 women. I think they'd have a fun time with me, but I actually think Adam would probably offer the most fun time. He'd probably be the one that would really put the effort in, because he'd just live it up like Simon was saying before. He loves that attention and stuff, and he'd just lap it up and lay it out. I think they'd have a pretty good time with Jeff. Jeff would just take them to every craft ale bar from here to eternity. And
They wouldn't even remember the time they had. with Jeff.
that's just it. So I'm agreeing with Simon. I think he'd either just leave them at Downton Abbey, or he'd just be giving them an exposition of how wonderful his Spanish villa is. And
Which one?
my point made.
Okay, Jeff, same question to you.
Yeah, so Duncan's guessed it. I'm heading off to Washington State on the west coast of the United States of America, and I'm just going to be traveling up and down, checking out microbreweries. The girls, the boys, whoever's coming, they're going to have a crazy time, just West Coast IPAs for at least 2 weeks, every day, just different breweries. It's going to be an amazing time.
I think he makes a very good point there. I think Jeff's at the top of that list, because
Yeah.
I know Adam's answer, because I spoke to him, because I read him the questions, because obviously he wasn't here. I read him the questions, and I think Jeff wins this one. I said that I would take him to Las Vegas, because it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to have a good time there. So that is the end of Stupid Questions this week. Or see you next Tuesday, Chris.
Okay, well, before we carry on with the show, we're going to hear from our fantastic partners, Naidex. If you're not aware of the show, check it out. The links are in the description. Come along, we're going to be speaking there, but we've got to catch up with them. Chris sat down with them earlier this week and had a good chat to them about what's going to be happening at this year's show. Chris, take it away.
Yes, Duncan, and I am joined here by the guys at Naidex, Jake and Rosie. How are you doing, guys?
Very well, thanks, Chris.
Good,
Thanks for having
good.
us on.
Okay, well, first question. What's got you most excited about the conference this year?
Okay, I'm going to go for 2 things if I can. First thing I think is just how many new features we've got running. I can't wait to see everyone's reaction when they come through the doors, because I think it's really going to make it a real fun 2 days. And second thing is genuinely how excited all the exhibitors are to get on site and be face to face with people again. I think it's just it's like an infectious feeling when we're speaking to exhibitors of how much they're looking forward to it. So that's my 2 things.
Like Rosie said, we've got some really awesome new features this year. I'm specifically looking forward to the Village Green, where we've got performances from Sign Along With Us from Britain's Got Talent, Mr. Cookfulness in Taverner, who's going to be doing cooking demonstrations, yourselves, obviously. And then we've got some really cool other stuff going on as well. We've got an adaptive climbing wall that is available to everyone regardless of disability. We've got some really insightful seminars from some really interesting people like James Cracknell, Tanny Gray Thompson, Aaron Edwards, disabled adventurer. So yeah, it's a bunch of stuff. I can't really pick one, to be honest with you, mate.
There's a lot of hype this year, I've noticed. There wasn't, I know with COVID last year, it was a lot more toned down, but this year everybody I spoke to seems to be quite excited about what's going to happen this year. There was a lot of restricted access last year, obviously because of the pandemic. Is there likely to be the same amount this year, or is that being loosened just for people that are going to be going to the conference?
Yeah, so one thing that we've adopted is the width of the aisles. We're going to be having that regardless moving forwards, where we can at 4-meter aisles. Try to have that going throughout the whole exhibition. Obviously, in some places it's not possible because of pillars and everything else like features and the seating areas and stuff, but we've really tried to keep that. But apart from that, to be honest, we're in line with government guidance, and I think it is really just down to individuals what precautions they want to take, and we absolutely support that. In any way we can help, we absolutely will. But as far as kind of enforced restrictions within the show, there won't be any. But if people feel like they still want social distance, wear masks, gloves, whatever makes them feel comfortable, basically.
If Naidex conference opened up at the same time to everybody walked in, what soundtrack would you use?
It's a Beautiful Day by Blur, isn't it? I think.
Oh, nice. I like that. That's good. What about you, Rosie?
I feel like that was a really good one. I don't know. I can't even think about who does it, but Guess Who's Back song.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a very good one.
It's back in full scale this year, so it would have to be that for me.
We'll maybe introduce it next year. You've brought the conference forward from last year, which was it September last year, the conference? And now obviously it's going to be at the beginning of July. Is there a reason you've done that? Is it the summer month?
It's purely down to turnaround time, to be honest. Like COVID put a real sort of curveball in our way, because Naidex has always will run sort of springtime, March, April. But because we weren't able to run until September, we've had to go to July this year. Otherwise, I think the whole team would have just simultaneously passed out if it was going to be in March this year. But next year, 2023, we're back in March, end of March. So usual time frame. So another quick turnaround. But no, it's just kind of a stepping stone back to our usual time.
If you had to label the conference with 3 words, what would they be for this year?
For this year, I think the 3 words that really stick out: community. I think that's definitely something that always Naidex embodies really well. So a really, really strong community. Festival is another word where I think it really sticks out, because we've really tried to festivalize the show this year. We've really gone above and beyond in terms of the features. And I think togetherness as well. I think there's a genuine desire amongst the exhibitors, amongst the speakers, amongst the attendees to support the disability community, support the independent living community, and to really elevate it and sort of present as positive as possible.
100%. I mean, I've got 3 different words, but I think they're going towards the same message. The 3 that instantly came to my mind were inclusive, inspiring, and motivated. You know,
Where is fun in this? I honestly believe that fun was going to play a factor. That's 6 words you 2 have had, and you haven't mentioned fun.
Wait, can we do it again? I'll say fun this time.
just carry on. It's rolling. Keep going.
Inclusive, inspiring, and motivated for fun. There we go. Motivated and fun.
That's a nice save. That's a very nice save. There's a big shock at the conference. Okay, 2 of your speakers have dropped out. Oh, sorry, this is hypothetical, by the way. I don't want you freaking out, okay? So two of you, I should have led with that, really. 2 of your speakers have dropped out. Now, your bosses come to both of you and say, right, guys, you need to do as a solid here. You need to speak for 20 minutes and look in place in the conference. What are you speaking about?
I think I'd speak about, I'm a big football fan, and there's a massive amount that's been done recently at Premier League football clubs, I think, to improve accessibility and improve inclusion. I know Man City have got like a big program going on. I know Arsenal have like a whole wing of their sort of administration of their business side of the football club that is devoted to this side of to the disability community. So I think I'd like to talk about that sort of stuff, because I think it's sort of something that's slightly undercovered at the moment.
I like that. Rosie, what have you got?
Well, I think that's a really good topic. Maybe we should have that covered for next year. For me, I think I would have to talk about, I speak to a lot of assistive tech companies who are working within kind of the access to workspace. Okay. And I think that sort of in not a post-COVID world, obviously it's still very much around, but in a world where we're very much adapted to working with it, there's been such a kind of shift in knowledge, awareness around access to work for the disabled community. And I think that previously, where remote work was something that wasn't really an option, it wasn't really something that any business was really open to. And I think that we're in a place now where remote work is considered something that should be a part of most roles when you go towards it. And I think it's really opened up the hidden talent pool. And there's some really great people that I've been speaking to. A lady called Beth, who runs a recruitment agency for the Hidden Talent Agency, and she's doing an incredible job in getting people placed in businesses where those doors were closed before. So I think I would talk about that kind of shift in mentality and how we can look towards a much more inclusive workspace as a result of COVID in some ways.
I kind of want to hear you guys speak now. Just so if your bosses are watching this, make sure we get Rosie and Jake lined up for speakers spots next year.
God, I know about that.
Last question. Where can people find you online?
You can find us on all the major social media platforms. We are Naidex_show at Facebook and Instagram, and we are at Naidex on LinkedIn and on Twitter. We are at www.naidex.co.uk online as well. hit us up, come say hello.
That's great. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks very much, Chris.
As always.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. That was really entertaining, and we can't wait to see you at the show. As I say, go check out the link in the description. We'll put a link up in here as well. Go check it out. It is a fantastic show. We had a ball there last year. We're doing a live podcast from the show, and we'll also be doing some live spots around the arena, interviewing different exhibitors and interesting people we come across. So join us for that. Okay, so we're going to move into the main body of the show now, and we're going to kick off this week discussing something that's been on a bit of a hot topic on Twitter. It's been trending quite heavily over the last couple of months, and that is Katharine Birbalsingh, who is touted as being the UK's strictest headmistress. And we've been looking into this, and she's made some pretty wild claims over the Twitter sphere and on social media. And it really concerns me. It's somebody who... I've got a daughter who has special educational needs. Both Jeff and Chris also share this luxury in life that we have these amazing kids who are neurodivergent and have these, different perspectives. But there are certain accommodations that need to be made. And she's made some pretty wild statements about how all kids should be, basically drilled into a really regimented form of discipline. And to the point that she forces kids at her school, regardless of neurotype, to make eye contact. And I wanted to open this up to you guys. I've been looking at this, and on Jeff's suggestion, I actually listened to a podcast she was on today, and I was kind of horrified by what I heard. And what really got me, and I'll say this before we get going, is that she's the most dangerous type of person in this sort of position to me, because what she does is she makes a lot of sense in a lot of what she says, and then just tags in these little extreme bits that just sort of get added on at the end. So I think a lot of people believe that actually, some discipline for kids is not a bad thing, and some regimentation, and actually having some respect for your teachers and your other peers and that kind of stuff. And it's like, it can ring true. But then it tags into this thing, but we're going to force all people into this one regimented type of education. And so this thing that has some sense to it then has this almost like a sting in the tail. I really want to hear your guys' feedback on it.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think she is quite a nefarious personality, personally. I don't think that I don't have the issues with her being a strict headmistress per se. Silence when you're going between classrooms on the way to the next lesson. Dealing with your teachers with respect. The strictness, I think, isn't the issue. I think the issue here is that at her free school, where she made her name, the kids have to sing Jerusalem each day. They have to sing the national anthem each day. Basically, what she's doing is she's training these kids to be card-carrying conservatives by the time they're 12, 13, 14, or when they leave school at 16 or 17. And she doesn't allow any room for free thought for questioning authority. In her school, you're not allowed to question authority. Basically, you have to be proud of your country. I think she's brainwashing kids. The reason she's making waves is because she's a strict headmistress, but it's hiding all the nefarious issues, all the nefarious subcurrents underneath basically what she's doing to those kids. I don't like her at all. I think she is quite a dangerous personality within education.
I think that's what really ran true with me, that she's really pushing a specific personal agenda. And I mean, we know that she's got strong links with the Conservative Party. And, I reflect, because I don't necessarily lean too far to the left or to the right. And I got caught with that whole thing of some of the things she said make sense. But at the end of it, you get this very formulaic. Yes, it's getting the results. She's getting great GCSE results and all that kind of stuff. But what's the cost? And I think,
exactly.
But I think a big part of the pride that we have as Britain is that we have this diversity in our community. We have people from all walks of life. And why isn't that being drawn out more? Like you say, they're being drilled into being card-carrying conservatives. I mean, Chris, what's your thoughts on this?
I think she's an arse. She's an arsehole. I haven't really got too much of an opinion. She makes me angry. She tries to pigeonhole kids, and there's such rigidity already in the education system. And any SEND parent knows exactly how this feels, and some of the things she says, it's almost like she's playing up to this populism that's enveloped our country, and it doesn't sit right with me. It really doesn't. And when you look into the struggles that the neurodiverse go through, and then you hear this popular strictest UK strictest head teacher, and she's saying all these things, getting out to the masses, it's so damaging.
It is. I think what really got me, it's actually something that Jeff and I spoke about this outside before we did the podcast, and something that Jeff actually mentioned is what do you think her motivation really is? Is she doing this because she really believes this stuff, or is she really just loving the attention she's getting? Because on the podcasts and on the interviews I've heard her, she genuinely loves the sound of her own voice, and all it needs is a small prompt and she's off spouting this stuff out. What are your thoughts? Simon, what do you think of that?
I think you can still be very strict in school, and I think teachers need to be stricter in school. I do. School is where get taught respect to others. You learn the laws of the land from others, and it's what you take with you for the rest of your life. So I think early stages, yes, it's important to be strict, but you can also give someone an open opinion.
Yeah, I agree. She's not interested in having young people have opinions. Let's say what the podcast is. So I think it's called Locked In. It's Jeremy Paxman interviewing her. She's got no interest. Basically, her belief is kids shouldn't have opinions. Kids should be taught to flag wave. They should be taught to sing the national anthem, respect the monarchy, call that big C, little c, conservatism, whatever you want to call it. Basically, I think it is quite nefarious. Now, maybe you'll hear this first and we can refer back to this podcast in a couple of years' time, because I think where this is going, and I think Chris picked up on this, it is populism. The cult of personality, where you've got Boris Johnson wouldn't be where he is now if it wasn't for the cult of personality. She's going down the same route. I think she will stand as an MP, because currently she is, as far as I know, the education czar for the Tory party, or the Conservative Party at the moment. She invests her time in directing Conservative policy at the moment in terms of education. I think she will stand as an MP in 2 years, and then should, God forbid, Conservatives win, I think you'll find her as the next education minister, which is I think incredibly scary.
I think for the SEND community, I mean, like we say, I've talked a lot about it on my channel and stuff like that, but the whole thing, eye contact's the big one that really gets me, because it's so unnecessary. We inflict it, and it can cause physical pain for neurodivergent people, because the way sensory processing disorder and other conditions like that affects you is it misinterprets that communication. And so it can be a physically painful act to make eye contact. So we're forcing these kids into doing things that are causing them physical pain. They're repressing that. And that's only going to come out in forms like PTSD. We've seen it already, That leads to, with ABA therapies and things like that. That's exactly what that's about. It's forcing neurodivergent people to conform to a neurotypical lifestyle. But it leads to things like PTSD, bipolar disorder, all kinds of, really, life-affecting conditions down the track. I mean, Chris, what do you think? I mean, if your son was put in that position, what would you feel?
I don't hit women, but I'd rip her head off if that was the case. If he was forced to do something that verges on causing pain, or it could cause pain. With her outlook, I think that her ego is too big. She's got too big a chip on her shoulder to accept the way she's been doing things is wrong. Yeah. I think that's the whole reason why she is pushing and pushing and pushing. And for the majority, it is right. She does get results, but at what cost?
Yeah,
that's the issue. Yeah. It should be zero students that are traumatized, or the neurodiverse that are traumatized going through that period. Even if it's 99% have gone through and they've got their GCSEs and they've walked out into the big wide world with respect and, singing the national anthem and all this. But if there's one child that's traumatized by the way she's done things, it's the wrong way to do it.
We want to hear your opinions on this. This is something that is, it divides communities, and it's something a lot of people have a lot of passionate views about. So please head to the comments and chuck in your thoughts and ask any questions. And on that, which is actually something that we've put out there this week on Twitter and on social media, And Chris has been monitoring that. Chris, what's the response been?
Yeah, so the community question that we put out for this episode was, what's the worst thing a head teacher has said or done to you or your child? And we've had some horror story answers on this one. I think there was about 25 answers, but I'm only going to read out 4 in random order. This one was from Jomo, discussing an inappropriate restraint of my tiny son. Muscular male staff member pulled his arms up his back, and when I said I believe him, she said, well, you would, you're his mother. This is inside a litany of additional inappropriateness in a SEND school. The next one was from B, that my son was obnoxious. I'll never forget it. He was 4, ADHD to boot.
4?
4 years old. 4 years old. This is another one from Super Steets. Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. We don't have children like this. Pointing at my child in our school. Child is autistic.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
This one's from Tasha. I picked my son up with a huge black eye and cut head. I went batshit. Spoke to head as to why I wasn't called. He said, we called you. You should answer. What he didn't realise was I'd worked there, and when I questioned him, he found out the first aider hadn't called me. This goes on and on and on.
There were so many responses that I was reading on there. Horrifying stories that people have got of abuse.
Even we put in a couple. This isn't an isolated case. Duncan put up an answer. I put up an answer. Jeff put up an answer.
I replied, and my answer was, what was the worst thing my teacher said to me? And it was, put the gin back in the cupboard.
I just think that teaching, there's such a responsibility of how we nurture our kids and how we shape them and what kind of future we want them to go into. And this cuts right to that. And you know, I've spoken to a lot of educators, and I had a fascinating talk with a lady, Hannah Harris, on my channel. We spoke about this because she's autistic herself. She's become a teacher, and one of the things that she talked about was the training for special educational needs. That was part of her university course, and she went for the double whammy. She actually had twice as long doing the SEND training as part of her degree. And in that, she was there for 2 days, not 1. And that is the sum total of how SEND is approached within education. And I think that reflects.
It absolutely does. I think you have to have a certain personality to be a teacher or a head teacher. And especially from the cases I've had where they've said something that's, you know, offensive, or it's not being understanding for a child's need, it's always from the teacher that feels they know it all. They've got nothing else to learn within their profession. Yeah. They've always got that big chip on their shoulder, and if they were to admit, you know what, there is something else to learn, their head would explode.
There was a fantastic episode of Scrubs which had Dick Van Dyke in it, playing this sort of old doctor, playing, you know, doing old school rules. And it was like, well, no, but there are new ways to do this stuff now that we've got more understanding. You can't stop training to be a doctor. You're always going to be learning more. And I think it's the same in education. You're always learning new things. You should always be seeking to update your knowledge to make it more relevant and valuable.
Yeah, I fully agree. And something I posted on Instagram the other day, but alluding to some thoughts from all of you, but basically, Harry Bosch, TV detective, one of his quotes in the TV series throughout the show, everybody counts or nobody does. You can't, like Chris was alluding to the fact that 99% may get through, but 1% don't. What cost is it to them? Everybody should count.
Yeah, absolutely right. We're here, we're discussing the whole media side of things and the reason that people do these things, and obviously, you know, the huge attention that people get through this kind of stuff, and we're looking at these politicians, but there's more ways to seek attention than just being obnoxious on social media. Jeff, what have you got for us this week, my man?
I think I've drawn the short straw for this show. So
I sure as hell wasn't fucking doing it.
I'm gonna fess up. So I would argue that, like, I don't know, you might be down the pub, you might be in a taxi talking to the cab driver, you're having a discussion. I do not think you should engage in any discussion unless you know something about it. But here we go. I'm going to break that rule, and I'm going to engage in Love Island. To be fair, I haven't got a lot, mate. Love Island. First of all, let's get straw poll. Who watches it?
I've watched not this particular season, but I've the wife has it on sometimes.
I watched one episode by accident when my niece was watching it, and there was a quote on there. It was something along the lines of, the woman didn't know where Spain was. She thought Mallorca was in the UK.
That was Big Brother.
Is that Big Brother?
Yeah. That's a good start.
Same difference. Same difference.
I think. I mean, that's the point. I think, and I actually think that we say none of us really watch Love Island. You couldn't pay me enough to sit through an episode, but we have this reality TV craze and following that's on there, and people lap this stuff up. And I think let's take it from Love Island. Let's stretch it out. Then, what about looking at it from the whole perspective of reality TV and what it's presenting? And if we take it from that level,
it is fully and completely the bottom of the barrel. You're scraping whatever's left at the bottom of that barrel to produce a program. Whether that be, I haven't watched any, but the shows, the reality TV shows about people on benefits, and that takes scraping the barrel to a whole new level. It doesn't float my boat. Watching a bunch of wannabes appear on a TV show, pimping themselves out, acting probably a little bit beyond what they would normally do in real life.
I want to bring it back to Love Island, because I think how it affects the youth in our country and what message it portrays out to those young, impressionable people. Because what it says to me is that these people, glamorous, hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram before they've even got on a screen for Love Island. For me, the message that it's sending out to those young people, to the masses, is that if you're good looking enough, and you don't have to be smart, you don't have to work hard, but if you're good looking enough, you can make a career out of it. And I think that is so damaging. I really do. This is what maybe the biggest reason that I dislike Love Island is because they offer nothing to society. It is dead TV.
This is exactly my feeling, and it's something that really gets to me, is that we keep pushing this trope. There's all this, backlash against things like Instagram and all this kind of stuff, where everybody's having to look a certain way and do a certain thing, and it's causing so many mental health issues, especially among young girls, and how they have to look. And I'll be honest, I see this with my daughter. I see it quite a lot at the moment. She's my daughter's beautiful, and I mean that quite genuinely. Everybody sort of says it, and I'm dreading the day she brings a boy home, just because, obviously I don't want to go to prison. But the fact is that she fusses over, if she's at that time of the month and she's a bit bloated, she's really worried about her stomach. And she spends hours doing makeup. She's 11, and she worries about this stuff already. And it's because this stuff's trouted out there and pushed and pushed and pushed. And we see it, and everyone's talking about that, how bad it is on Instagram and social media. But we have these TV shows. Big Brother was the same. They get these people from the fringes of society, in my opinion, who have very low moral compasses. We talked about Vanity already. Massively vain people, all about their appearance. Personality comes, way down the line. So our kids are being taught that you need to look a certain way, be a certain way, be with a certain type of guy, regardless of what kind of a wanker he is in real life. And then we complain when people get into these toxic relationships, or self-harming, or becoming anorexic or body dysmorphic because of this kind of stuff.
I just see them as trash.
I feel sorry for the people. I wouldn't call the people on the shows trash. I do feel sorry for them. They are a product of society. They're a product of the people that are predatory upon them, because there's obviously a machine behind all these TV shows that gets people onto these programs. And I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't very. I would be surprised if it isn't very predatory. I wouldn't call them trash, but you're definitely right, Duncan. I do feel that the effect, the whole Instagram generation reality TV show generation where, easy ticket, you just become overly concerned about self-appearance. You hit the nail on the head.
And I think it puts an unhealthy attitude to sex out there, that sex is just this commodity.
Yeah, of course. So Love Island is about that, isn't it, though?
It really is.
Big Brother never really was. Obviously, the one about benefits wasn't, but Love Island is about, what do the kids call it these days? The shipping, when they ship people. Which I've never understood that term.
Jeff, down with the kids, yo.
But yeah, you're right. It is an unhealthy thing on about not only about sex, but how you form relationships.
Taking that topic and looking at that kind of thing, sex is an important part of life, and everybody has a right to sex. An interesting debate that's coming up in Parliament at the moment is about the rights of sex workers and the decriminalisation of the sex industry, and how does that affect disabled people? So Adam is actually going to be joining us for this episode. He got to sit down with Sam Renke, who you'll know as an author and on screen. She's a well-known actress, as well as Fiona, who is a big part of the group called TLC, who look for sex workers to aid the disability community. So they got to sit down and have a chat about this and how it's affecting them.
Thank you, us from the past are handing over to us in the future. As discussed, I am still your glorious hosto with the mosto, Adam Pearson, wearing a collar, because adulting is a thing. And I am not alone. I am joined by my personal fairy godmother, Samantha Renker. How are you, my dear?
Oh, I'm good. It's so nice to see you. It's been a long time. Excuse the grandma chic. I've had such a busy day, and although I knew that I was supposed to be joining you, I kind of had the moment. I was like, just whipped all my clothes off, got into my pajamas, sat in bed, got comfy, and then I was like, oh no, definitely got something to do. And then I thought, you know what? It's Adam. Adam's seen me looking worse anyway, so yeah.
I have indeed. Gin cocktails are a thing.
But can I say, this is how much I've grown as a person. I think it's now because I'm like mid-30s. I would never have done anything in my pajamas, let alone with no makeup and my hair scraped back with clips in my hair. Like literally, I would never have done it. I would have pretended my camera had broken or just not turned up. So yeah, so now I just don't care. And I think that's quite a wonderful thing. I'm in a good place.
We are being joined by the lovely Fiona from TLC because we are going to talk about sex.
Aye.
Which is why we thought we'd get you on, because if it was just me and Chris talking to Fiona, going, so sex, that'd all be a bit weird. So we thought we'd get you in and give it the old, the old feminine touch. Buffer, fluffer, whatever you want to call yourself.
I've been called worse.
That's fine, Samantha. You can be my fluffer. I'm happy with that. Hi, Adam. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you and Fiona. And for the people who do not yet know, tell us about you and TLC and what the MO is.
TLC is the sexy branch of the Outsiders Trust. So the Outsiders is a dating, friendship and relationships charity for people with disabilities. And the TLC is the side of that talks about sex specifically, but not only confined to paid for services. What we do in the team is we screen providers who apply, who want to provide sexual services to people with disabilities. And yes, we are talking about sex workers, frequently called prostitutes or other more derogatory terms, but most people prefer the term sex workers, and we refer to our providers as sexual service providers because they do provide a diverse range of services. So yeah, basically that's us in a little sexy nutshell.
And why do you think the discourse around sex, and in particular sex and disability, is so taboo? For example, if a non-disabled person were to go to a strip club, hire a sex worker, I imagine very few people would bat an eyelid in 2022. But when you throw disability into the mix, all of a sudden people start to see it as a bit more maybe sordid or awkward or just strange?
Oh, no, I've actually found the opposite to be true. There's so much stigma still around sex work, and so often it's conflated with trafficking and coercion. And I actually have found that when a sex worker is seeing people with disabilities, it becomes a compassionate act. And, oh, isn't that sweet? You know, whereas people tend to think of sex work clients as being a bit sordid, dirty coats and, you know, dirty old men. Whereas as a site, we tend to get pretty good press, as in, oh, isn't that nice what you're doing? But we're not, people aren't doing people a favor. It's just simply that our founder realized that clients with disabilities have perhaps more specific or diverse or unusual needs. So there might be care needs that need to be taken into account, bodily functions that might not be the norm or something that people have come across before, and that actually not all providers want to work with clients with disabilities. I think people don't want to talk about disability and sex, and they don't want to see disabled bodies as sexy bodies or sexual bodies. And I think that goes right back to the British sort of aversion to sex, full stop, and where I think we've come a long way in becoming a bit more open-minded. When it's come to people with disabilities, I think we're literally still on the cutting edge. I think when somebody like Samantha pops up in an advert, people are like, oh, they're quite shocked. Or you get the, oh, isn't that lovely? It's that patronizing kind of, oh, bless her, she has sex too. But nobody actually thinks about it as, well, of course she does. She's a young woman in her 30s. What do you think she's doing? You know?
Oh, I'm not at the moment. I've got 2 cats now, so sex is, you know, being a gone now. I'm over the hill. But it's really funny that we are talking about this, because it's sex and disability has been something that has trailed my career in the public eye, in the sense of I've been in London for about 10 years now. And when I started working with a number of charities, or trying to kind of climb up the ladder and get recognised, and you know what it's like, do a lot of interviews, and I would say 90% of the interviews that I would ask to do were around disability and sex. And as quite a naive, youngster, I was in my 20s, alone in London, I was very much a yes person for a very long time. And I definitely let my boundaries get kind of exploited, in the sense of a lot of the interviews that I would do were kind of, they were exploitative, and they weren't necessarily for the good of understanding disability bodies. One of the first film that I featured in, called Little Devil, the storyline was moved to London in with my best friend, and got adopted by the LGBTQ plus community, but I was the only straight female there, and I was also had a disability. And on one particular night, when everyone had partnered off into the bedrooms and did the little hanky panky after a party, I was kind of left alone. So I thought, sod it, I'm going to get myself a prostitute. And this prostitute rocks up, and he dressed as a cowboy. The actor's called Diobia Operai, who is a very successful and well-known actor in Hollywood. And a lot of the things that you talked about played out in the film, in the sense of people were shocked. My friends were shocked I wanted to do that. They were concerned for my safety. The escort himself didn't know whether he could go through with it because of my condition. And we formulated, not to spoiler alert, but we formulated a really beautiful friendship. We had this beautiful relationship, and it played out that way. And it wasn't done in disability and sex. It was more about friendship. I've never really seen anything like it since on TV, and Adam will probably agree. We're still very voyeuristic when we look at sex and disability, and we still tiptoe around a lot of it. But equally, I have my own internalized, I suppose, ableism, in the sense that I remember one day a friend asked me, "Oh, but you get prostitutes right, don't you, Sam?" And I was so offended. And I was offended because I am conditioned to believe, first of all, that well, you're assuming that I can't get laid any other way, and that really upset me. But then I had to check myself because a lot of my friends do pay for sex. And the more I get more involved, I come to learn the beautifulness of the disability community. I understand that my gut reaction was actually misguided, and it was more to do with me and how the world saw me rather than the act of sex workers and disability.
It's back. The stigma around sex work is huge, and then the stigma around disability is huge, and then you've got sex and disability. So I really think we come together. A juxtaposition of three massive stigmas, really, where people just make so many assumptions, that it's seedy, that sex workers are just after, they only want the money, they don't care about you, it's not real, it's not intimate, or that they're being exploited, taken advantage of. And something that set us apart very much from the sex work community with regards to campaigning for decriminalisation is that we do see clients as allies, because our providers' relationships with their clients, there is a change in the balance of power to that with able-bodied people. The Outsiders and TLC accepts people that have invisible disabilities. Some people don't, that is their only sexual experience.
I don't know how I'd react if my mum booked me a sex worker. If I woke up on my 38th birthday, came downstairs to see Julie from Chigwell. I
think they do talk to their children about it, Adam.
I
don't think they just do it. Surprise!
I wouldn't put it past Mommy P. I wouldn't put it past Mommy P. How would you react, Sam, if you just got like a bloke with a bow on saying "Happy birthday, love you, kisses, Mummy"?
Well, I already have a naked cat who often sits on my head and teabags me. So there you go.
There we go. How did we? For those of you that had teabagged by cat on your Grumpy Gits bingo card, congratulations, you win. There we go. Anyway, we're going to have to bring this into land at some point, Fiona. Thank you very much for coming on and talking to us about it's important and it's quite sensitive. And so to be able to have this conversation without kid gloves on, I think will really help out a lot of people. So if people want to find out more about TLC, whether they want to either as a customer or a potential worker, how can they do so?
Just drop onto the website. It is www.tlc- that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
trust.org.uk, and there's a provider section, there's a member section, there's application forms. We do ask for identification, but it isn't downloaded, it's all kept on our database, which is very thoroughly protected. Our web designer's brilliant. I'm going to be at Naidex. Going to be me and my mate Steve, who runs the Outsiders and who's a trustee, is going to come along to help out.
Thanks very much for coming on. And if you've enjoyed the interview, and hopefully people come up to you at Naidex and talk to you and Steve about sex. Let's try and make Steve feel as awkward as possible during Naidex.
I'm doing a bit of a campaign because they are actually trying to make it illegal to pay for sex. Something called the sex buyers law, but they've slipped it into the police and crime bill, the one that people have been protesting.
Yeah.
If they make it illegal to pay for sex, for certain people with profound disabilities, that is going to remove any access or opportunity to have any sexual experience. So that's the route that we're fighting that under. And one of our trustees is a lawyer. And if they do make it law, we will take them to court over it.
How can people support that and raise awareness?
On our website, we've got a brochure. in the newsletter section, which has got all the information about that. And it's got a load of testimonials from some lovely clients about the benefits of being able to see sex workers. And then it's got links to websites that you can go to campaign. It's got links to websites that have pro forma letters, so you can send them off to your MPs. I just think a lot of people are unaware of it outside the sex work world, and people think it doesn't impact on me. But if you're criminalized and you have, the only way you can access a sex worker is by, getting a support worker or someone to get in touch with them for you, you're losing that right of access. Yeah. So it's not about having a right to sex, but it is about having, access to have your human rights met.
So again, Fiona, thank you very much for coming on. And Samantha Renker, it's always a pleasure to see you in your pajamas.
Oh, thank you. Maybe next time I'll get my name right, but there you go.
I'll try.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, Adam. That was great to see, and a really interesting discussion. And we want to hear your comments. Please do hit down in the comments. Go down. Tell us what you think. Is this something that is important? Is it something that's relevant? And, we would love to hear your stories as well. Chuck them in the comments or hit us on Twitter. We'd love to hear about it. So, as we told you before, we're doing Naidex, and we've been interviewing some people who are going to be at Naidex and are doing some important things as a result of that. And Jeff and myself got to sit down with Annette Schmeller this week, who is part of the Sunflower Lanyard scheme, and she got to talk about the scheme, and we got to ask some poignant questions as well. She was very, very open to answering a lot of really interesting stuff. So, take it away, Jeff and myself. Yes, thanks, guys. And we are really privileged today to be able to talk to Annette Schmeller, who is part of the Hidden Disability Sunflower Corporation, if you like, or the business that's behind it. Annette, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for inviting me on the show. I'm really excited to talk to you guys.
Myself and obviously Jeff, we both are probably disability adjacent in that we both got kids who are autistic. In fact, we both got kids who have a PDA profile. And the Sunflower Lanyard was something that I was introduced to a few years ago, and it was such a good idea. And what I really liked was that it seemed like a really positive thing, and it was free of the sort of cringe factor, if you like, of puzzle pieces and stuff like that. What inspired the Sunflower specifically to be used with it?
The team at Gatwick in 2016, they were looking after people with disabilities going through the airport, and they quickly realised that there was a number of people coming through who had non-visible disabilities. So they wanted to support them, and we worked with them to develop a symbol that people could wear that was discreet, but that wasn't negative in any way. And we looked at the sunflower on a green background because it could be seen at a distance. Once you realised what it was, then you would know that person has a non-visible disability. So it was easy to recognise, it was really positive, and it was just a nice symbol to use.
Could you give some kind of concept on what that sign allows its owner or the person carrying it to do?
So it's really for someone who has a non-visible disability to choose to wear it when it suits them. So if someone feels that they need to indicate that they need some more time or some support, or just to have the confidence to be able to go out and not be judged and respected, then they wear it. But it's just a trigger for organisations that are Sunflower members, that have joined the Sunflower and trained all their staff to recognise that symbol, to be able to support that person. Part of the training that we give organisations is to listen closely, to give them time, to not judge, to show respect, and just really try and support that person.
That's a really good thing, and it's something perhaps a lot of people don't know about, is the fact that the sunflower system and the knowledge of the sunflower. So I know it as, obviously you see it, you recognise that somebody is probably neurodivergent, may have a hidden disability, may just be physically disabled. I've seen a lot of people wearing them, but there's a whole training thing that goes behind it.
So an organisation or a business will approach us because they want to join the Sunflower. And so they'll approach us and sort of want to either support their staff, and a lot of organisations will go and support their colleagues first, and as well as their customers. And the first thing that we work with them to do or provide them with is a series of training videos. And they're very simple training videos. They There's a series of 3 main core videos, one which explains what the sunflower is. Then the second one is what is a non-visible disability. And then the third video is there to train staff to what to do when they see someone wearing a sunflower.
So this really isn't just a UK-based scheme, is it?
It started at Gatwick and then sort of filtered over to Heathrow and then expanded sort of fairly quickly through airports globally. We've now got 156 airports on board, and we've now got 2 airlines, which British Airways and Air New Zealand have joined, and we're working with a number of other airlines to be able to provide that support from when someone arrives at the airport all the way through that journey, to have that consistent level of support. In the UK, it's pretty much in every sector: retail, Premiership football clubs, financial institutions, central and local government. And then we've also got a presence, so we've got offices, or we've got partners in Australia and New Zealand, the US and Canada, Ireland, most recently in Ireland, Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, and we're expanding in other regions as well.
Are there any future plans? I mean, are there any developments that are in top secret labs being developed at the moment where you're perhaps going to launch something in the future? Or?
For us, it's really just trying to set up that end-to-end journey for someone with a sunflower, so they can leave their house and then go out, go shopping, go to work, travel, and have access to the same opportunities as everybody else. We started working with National Highways last September. If you're in a vehicle and you have a disability, that disability, whether it's visible or non-visible, is essentially invisible. So we worked with National Highways to create a sticker and a magnet, which are free for anyone who feels that they need the support. So if you have a sticker on or magnet on your car, and you are in an emergency, all the traffic officers have been trained to understand that someone in that vehicle will have a disability which isn't visible.
So I have a question for you. It's a bit left of field, but I'm sure you'll understand why. What are your thoughts on Lawrence Fox?
Sorry. So during the pandemic, we developed, we had right in the very first lockdown, we had a number of people contacting us because they were being verbally and in some cases physically abused. So we developed a face covering exempt card. There was misuse and misconception.
Yeah.
So there was misuse in the sense of people sort of using the sunflower to indicate that they couldn't wear a face covering, but not because they had a hidden disability, for political or personal reasons.
Yeah.
And then there was that misjudgment where people started assuming that those who were wearing a sunflower lanyard were faking their disability or imagining their disability.
And that was what really got me with it. The reason I wanted to ask the question. So those of you who don't know, Lawrence Fox actually posted a tweet that basically said, I'm going to order myself a disability lanyard so that I don't have to wear my mask. And it was basically this whole thing. He's very against the sort of push for, COVID restrictions that were there. And the thing that got me is that it was just a kind of arrogant thing that could be said. He might have thought it was funny, or he was just trying to be political. What's forgotten is the damage it does to people who have these genuine needs. And I think it's a really important thing to sort of address, is that, these things are there for a reason, and you've got a responsibility as a person who doesn't have these things. Why would you inhibit that for somebody else?
Absolutely. And it's something that we are creating an advertising campaign on, which we're going to launch at Naidex.
You guys are at Naidex, aren't you?
No. So we're at Naidex. So we are working with Purple Goat to do this digital campaign, and it's really talking about what the sunflower is and what the sunflower isn't.
I think public awareness of the scheme is obviously very, very important to you, because the general public aren't aware of what it means. Then you're missing a trick there. So obviously it looks like you're getting into that as well, the public awareness.
What we're going to do is we're going to put links to the Sunflower website and everything where you can go and order them, get them. It will all be there in the description, and we'll try and pop a card up here. I don't know if it will work, but we'll try that. But yeah, please do head over there, check it out. Do also go check out the scheme at Naidex. They're going to be there, and it's going to be a great event, so make sure you're there. Annette, I want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely fascinating hearing about the ins and outs of it and how it all works. I've learned a lot myself.
Thank you.
And that really leads on to our next topic, which is travel. And we've seen the chaos in airports and the abuse of travel systems and assistance onto planes. And some news today was particularly relevant to that. So, Simon, what's your thoughts on this?
So this morning, most people have seen, and this is coming out a week later after the incident, an 82-year-old man fell down the escalators at Gatwick Airport this morning and sadly died. And this is because he was left on the plane for half an hour, he got fed up, and he decided to make his own way off the plane. Now, I fly twice a month, possibly. I've got to travel for work, and I've not had a good incident on many occasions with assisted travel. So, for example, before we started filming the podcast today, I was flying from Murcia Airport, Corvera, in Spain, to East Midlands Airport. You know, when I got to Murcia, there were 2 members of staff on special assistance. Okay, when I got to East Midlands Airport, there were 6 to help people on and off the flight. And this goes to show the differences on airport staffing for people who travel with disabilities. This could have, for me, the incident today with the 82-year-old man could have been avoided. So, for example, EasyJet, a couple of weeks ago, announced that they were taking out seats on the plane so they could lower the members of staff they could put on the flight, because you have to have so many attendees per passenger. There is no rule or regulation to say if you've got 6 disabled passengers, you need 5 special assistance people, or 1 or 2. And so I feel this could have been completely avoided if there was some kind of regulation with special assistance for this poor man who fell down the escalator, who clearly needed assistance, but got left behind. And today is a perfect example of this. Flying from Murcia to East Midlands today, I was on the ambilift. It's a thing that lifts you up and so you can walk into the plane. And what happened was Ryanair allocated me a seat halfway down the plane. Now, I can only walk. Luckily, I'm very fortunate. I can transfer and can walk about 10 feet with crutches, if that, but then my legs give way. There's no way I can get halfway down the plane to this seat. Absolutely, under no circumstances. While I was on the ambilift, Ryanair said, we're going to find you a seat, but you've got to wait till everyone else is boarded so they can ask people to move. But this means I'm on the ambilift for 45 minutes, and this ambilift services all the other aircrafts. So not only was I sitting there with the special assistance team going, what the hell's going on? And it's just chaos. But I'd like to hear your thoughts. I don't know if you lot have travelled with your kids and stuff.
I have. The sunflower lanyards, I've used that, and that's worked for us. Chris and Duncan, I mean, have you experienced anything?
I'm afraid to fly. I'm not myself, sorry. I'm afraid to take my kids on flights, certainly until he's at an age where I'm confident that he's matured enough. Because obviously, if your first flight is quite nerve-wracking, and him as an autistic, it could be one of those things that overloads. So I can't really contribute to the discussion on this one.
We've done it on a flight from Bristol to Glasgow. So my brother-in-law lives up in Scotland, and his wife and my wife and my daughter went to visit them, and I've got to say they actually had a reasonably good experience of it. Obviously using the sunflower lanyard and that kind of stuff, but I think it was one of those things that, I wouldn't want to do it now. To be honest, the chaos that I see constantly at the airports at the moment, I mean, you couldn't pay me enough to go and travel at the moment.
So, for me, travel is discriminatory for people with disabilities.
Amen. Well, that's it for this week's episode, and I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. As I say always, we want to hear your comments, especially when it comes to the travel. If you've got any experiences on that, please do go hit the comments, hit us on Twitter, let us know your thoughts, because we really want to hear, and it may be included on the next episode. We are going to see you again on the next episode. In the meantime, Chris, Simon, Jeff, thanks so much for joining me. I think we all agree Jeff's done a fantastic job this week as well.
Well done, Jeff.
Mate.
Thank you.
Trial by fire, and we look forward to rejoining you with Adam again on our next episode. We'll see you again then.